Hello my dear fellow developers. Today I want to speak with you about testing. And I don't mean manual testing, I mean tests that we write to check our code, to prevent errors and bugs. I will not explain why we should write tests, because I think it's obvious for most of us. But I will speak a little bit about the concepts of testing. We have different types of tests. We have some kind of a pyramid where in the bottom there are unit tests, and unit tests it's the cheapest performance-wise and time-wise cheapest tests that we write, and we cover all units of our system, functions, components, or whatever. So unit tests are tests that have to check that all small independent parts, bricks of our application independently working good. For example, that component renders what it should render, or function returns what it should return. So unit tests, hello Dracaris. So unit tests, they're in the bottom of the pyramid, because we should have as many as possible of unit tests to cover everything. And the next level of the pyramid is integrational tests. And integration tests, it's tests that check how different parts of application interact with each other. So let's say if in unit tests we tested every function separately, or every service, every API, then we check how they work together. Usually we do it using mocks, and mocks is it's kind of a fake data or fake request that we pass to our application, and check if we get what we have to. And on the very top of the testing pyramid is smoke tests and end-to-end tests. These tests are the most expensive because usually they run in the browser and they require a lot of resources to run. These tests they check if the entire application works well. This test is basically what user does with your website. So these things are on the top of our pyramid because we don't have to write many of these tests. We only need some reasonable amount to check the main features of our application. For unit test and integrational test, we usually use Jest or something like that, some other libraries. There are tons of testing libraries. You can choose whatever you prefer. And for end-to-end and smoke tests, we usually use some kind of framework like Selenium or Cypress. I prefer Cypress because it's much easier to set up and it runs much faster than Selenium. Actually, Selenium for me was a big pain. I'm so happy that now we have Cypress, and it still has its issues. Hey, who is eating my mouse? Latuka. So Cypress is still not perfect. There are some trade-offs, but it's quite a good instrument. It doesn't take a lot to start to use it. In this video, we will do one quick fix of the bug that I found in the app, and then I will show you how to cover with unit tests our WebRTC React application. So let's start with our little fix. If our first peer tries to share the screen, the second peer doesn't get the stream from media device, and we need to fix it. I spent some time trying to understand why it doesn't work and why it actually worked before. And what I found out, that here in switch stream, when we set up a new stream, and replace a track in old stream, we also overriding the old stream with a new one, and it somehow doesn't work. So what I suggest, we will keep both streams. We will create a new variable here instead for the stream of our screen, and let's add it right here. And of course we need our state. So we created our screen stream state, and now what do we want to do? And now in our share screen method we want to change this a little bit. First, here where we just switch stream, we will do it different way. We get the stream and we switch it as before, and also we set screen stream, so we have it saved. And in switch stream function we delete this thing because we don't want to override. I also want to change it here. Here we just pick the first index of an array and we just assume that it's a video track, but we don't know, so let's just do a different way. Let's find a track, a sender that has it has track with kind video, and of course it's not happy with type, but I don't care for now. So we did it. Let's check if it works with the saved stream. Yes, it does. And now it works, but in the opposite way. We share our screen to the peer, but we don't see what we are sharing in our screen. So let's fix it as well. We need to add our screen stream here to the values of provider. And in our room, instead of showing just our sharing video, we will show our screen stream. And here we will get it and we will show it here instead of our camera stream. And let's try it again. And now it's finally working properly. So now let's speak about testing. Today I want to show you how to test a React application with our lovely WebRTC functionality. So usually I use Jest and Enzyme for unit testing, but for this tutorial I decided to try something new, and I will use React testing library. I never used it before, so I will learn it together with you. So what's special about this library? The main idea of React testing library that you don't test the implementation details. You test your components the same way as user would act on your website. For example, Here in the documentation, you can see if we click on the docs and on API, if we want to see which queries we have, we don't have queries for finding elements by class or ID or tag, but we can find them by role or by label text or by placeholder or alt text. It's done this way because user will never look for element with a certain class. User will look for element, for example, with text submit or with a role text input to be able to enter text and submit it. So React Testing Library tries to copy this behavior and this logic. And also we don't test with this library every reducer and every file. We test components and we test how user interact with them. So let's try and write some tests with this approach. We don't have to install React Testing Library if you use Create React App because it's all set up. But when I tried to run tests, unit tests, I saw a couple of problems. For example, if I run yarn test, it should run our testing library. It says no changes since last commit. Let's run all tests, and you see this error, set immediate is not defined. It is because we running our tests with DOM, with just DOM, but and it doesn't have set immediate, but some of code probably uses it. So we have to mock it, and I will show you how to do it. We have in our SRC folder, we have this file, setup tests. We have this setup test file, and what we need to do is to define our global set immediate and I will basically just copy what I found on Stack Overflow, and I will not go deep in details, but this fix works. It mocks our set immediate timers, and let's run it again. And now we have that our test is failing, but there is no error about set immediate. So we have our failing test, the very first one. It's default test from the boilerplate, and it checks if on the screen we have an element, a link element with the text Learn React. But obviously it is failing because in our application we do not have such text on the home page. We have a Start New Meeting button and text input. So let's check for these elements instead. So here we just write Start New Meeting. That's what user will see. And now our test passes. Let's change it to be a button because it's not a link. And what else? Renders Start New Meeting button. And we can also check if we have our input for name, for username. So again we render up. And we are looking for input. And how do we look? We here we are looking for element by text, but our text input has no label or anything, any text. But we can find it using the query using the query get by role. So let's do it. And what is the role of our text input? It's text box. Full list of roles you can find in documentation, and here there is a link. I will also leave it below the video. So this link contains a long table with all the HTML elements and their roles. You can use them to look for elements when you write your tests. So let's expect input to be in the document. So you can see React testing library works with jest as well, and we have all the same assertions as usually. And now we have our first two tests that are passing, and let's check, let's break them just to make sure if they're actually working. Let's go to app and let's comment our join component, and they're failing because they can't find elements. And you can see we're testing app, but we don't check which component actually renders inside our app. We only check what users see, so we can refactor it in any way we want, and our tests will not break. And it's very nice approach, I think, because it's quite annoying when you do some changes, some refactoring, and then half of your tests are failing and you spend another working day just fixing tests. And we are here on this screen, and what if I want to test our chat button, if it works, if it opens our chat? Let's try to test it. We want to test our chat button, that it opens our chat, and we will do it on our room component. What should we do? We should create a new file, room test tsx, in the same directory that we have our original file. Let's import React and React testing library render and screen helpers, and we will import the room component itself. And how do we write tests? The syntax is very simple. You just write test and then the name of the test. Let's say chat button toggles chat, and in the callback, as usually, same way as with enzyme and jest, we can render our room. Now let's try to find our button, our chat button. But how do we get it? It does not have any text, and also we can't get it by role because we have few buttons here. We have also screen sharing button. For such case, when we need explicitly define which element we want to find, we can use test ID. So let's add test ID to our chat button. Where is it? Chat button. We will add it here, test ID. But we need to take this prop here. Let's do it optional. String. And here, test ID. And oh no, it's not this way. Here we write it data test ID. Yeah, that's the syntax for HTML. And now we can find our button just by test ID. So we get our screen. Get by test ID chat button. And now we're gonna click it. How do we click? For clicks, we have a special method. You can find it in the documentation, fire event. So here there is an example of click. Let's use it. Let's copy this. So instead of this element, we put our chat button, and yeah, we have to import our fire event helper. And we create a new mouse event to click on our button. And now we have to add assertions. Let's check if after clicking button we can see a text area to enter our chat messages. So let's find it. Text area. Screen. Get by row. Text box. Text area also has text box row, and we don't use test ID because we know that we have only one text area on the page, so it does make sense to specify it more. So now we can just add assertion to check if text area is on the page to be in the document. And what our test failing? Why? You can see that we can find our text area, and it doesn't work basically because when we test our room we need to wrap it in provider. In this case it should be chat provider. So let's do it, and let's import our provider, and let's see. Now it's working. So you can see we are testing not only the button, we are also testing if our provider is working too. But we don't have to write directly test for provider. We can just test it via our interface. Let's try to write another test for our chat messages. I want to test if our message, if we can send our messages and they display in the chat. Let's do it on our chat component. So we don't need the whole room component to test it. We will take a smaller piece of code of our application, and again chat test ts6, and the same things we need here. And our test will be chat form adds messages to the list, and the callback now we need our chat. Oh, what I am writing. From chat, and we render it again. And we have to wrap our chat component into provider, chat provider for this case. because if you remember, the logic that is responsible for toggling our chat is in this provider. And now we will test chat component and chat provider at the same time, how they work together, and it's aligned with the idea of React testing library, that we test interface, how would user interact with it. So we wrapped our chat with provider, and now what we want to do, we want to find a text area where we type the message. We will get by role, because we have only one text area, and we want to type a message in it. So we will use fire event for it, and it has a method change that accepts our text area, and we can specify target and our text hello. Now we have to click our button. We also can use just get by role, and then we need our mouse event to click. Let's just copy it from documentation and replace this with button, and mouse event we will leave as it is. And what is next? Next we want to check if we have message on the page. We will look for it by text, not alt text, just text, and it should contain the same text. And let's check if message is on the screen. And next we want to check if our author is on the screen too. Our author will be you, because it's you sending message. So again, we expect it to be in the document. And the last thing we want to check, that our text area has no text in it, because you remember that we clean it up after message is sent. So we check text area value, and it should be empty string, but this, it says, doesn't exist. So we just can do type casting. Yeah, so we expect this value to be empty. Now let's run our test. And it successfully passes. Let's break it just to check that it will break. It works correctly. Yes. So we have a test for our chat component. And what is this message? So it's because our video is muted. Interesting. Let's try to do what they say here. Before all block. Let's try it. Or let's try it here in setup tests. It says that it can't be defined inside the test. I'm so sorry. Yeah, now the error is gone, but I guess we don't need it in two places, so we can remove it from here. And yeah, no. Okay, so we will leave it here and we will remove it from our chat. Nice, it works now. So now I want to test our room context and our room component together to see if it renders all the videos of peers that we have in our store. There is a section examples on the website with the documentation, and you can find here React context example, how you test context. You can test default values, it's a simple one, and you can also test different properties of your context, set up different values and see and test how component renders it. And we will use this example just to test our room. Let's go back to our room test.js and let's create another test. And this test, we will call it that it renders video room page, renders video for every peer. Okay, first what we want to define, we want to define our context properties. So let's make it default props, or just, you know, so let's call them props. And what do we pass in our provider? In our provider we have value, and in this value we have peers array, if you remember, and for every peer we have some ID, and we have stream. We will just make it an empty object because we don't care if it's actual stream or not, and we will make this like that. And we have username, and we have peer ID, can be whatever you prefer, any string or whatever. So that's our first peer. Let's add at least, I don't know, 3. So we have our dummy data, and we also should pass some default properties like screen sharing ID, the same as here in room context we have, you know, here. We can even just copy paste it from here. Let's say room ID will be some random ID. This will be just dummy functions. And now when we prepared our props, our default props, we can create this custom render just like here. Let's do it. Actually, let's move these props inside our render, and I don't want to have these props here, and what I want to have is not name context, of course. I want to get our room context. And let's get rid of these options, and I want to make these provider props to be default props and provider props. Let's change the name. Default props will be this one here, and here it will be just props. And now it's somehow not happy. Property value is incompatible. Let's see what is incompatible. Ah, I see. I forgot here the dots. Now we have our custom renderer, so we can render anything wrapped with this provider, just like in example on the website. And now let's try. Oh, Dracaris, hello. Let's try render our room. And it expects us to pass some properties. We don't want to pass anything. Let's test, and it fails. Why? Set room ID is not a function. Oh, I see. I made a mistake here. Now it should work. Okay, something with the same key here. Let's make it not the same. And yeah, all tests passing now, and we can check what we want to check. We want to know if this component renders same amount of video players as we have peers, as peers amount. So we want to check that every peer has its own video on our room. How do we get our video players? We can just add test ID to it. Let's do it here. Screen get by test ID peer video, and now in our video player we will just add to our video data test ID peer video, and this is failing. Why? We have to use not just get by, we get all by, because we have multiple instances of video player. Yeah, now it works fine. And now we can just check, expect videos to have length 2 videos. Yeah, and it's failing. Of course, because I have to put 3 here. Yeah, I'm sleepy today. And we want to see our 3 videos. We can run it with the flag coverage to see how good is our test coverage. Now I guess it will be very bad because we just wrote few tests. It's definitely not enough. And you see, so you can tell that with React testing library it's very easy to write unit tests for components, and you don't have to test everything. You don't have to test your context reducers or whatever separately. You can just test components the same way as user would interact with them. And I strongly advise you not to neglect testing and write as many unit tests as possible. It doesn't take so much time, and it will save you from bugs and problems in future. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it was useful for you. Please hit the like button and subscribe.